Howdy folks, and thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't already, you might want to go ahead and consider it because this thing is awesome. It's been sitting for 27 years outside, and I have no idea if the engine's any good or not, but we're going to try it today. This thing is probably one of the rarest of the rare, the high-performance model options of its time, and it's really awesome. I can't wait to see if this thing will run. If you want to see if it will, you might want to stick around to the end of the video because I have no idea if it will either. I introduce to you a Mustang Cobra II. Well, don't leave. Hold on. Wait, just listen. Wait. Now look, I get it. Everyone loves to hate on the Mustang II. It's not the sleek and muscled up rage machine that the 60s and 70s represented. But did you know this car actually saved the Mustang? Yeah, believe it. Throughout the latter half of the 60s, the Mustang dominated the pony car market. Unfortunately, as the Mustang entered into the 1970s, the US government was not so keen on our gas-guzzling muscle cars. The Clean Air Act of 1970 increased government regulation and air pollution control. On top of that, the oil embargo was in full swing by 1973, leading to a massive shift to more fuel-efficient vehicles. And after a dismal 1973 sales year, the Mustang was constantly declining. Enter 1974. The Mustang II took the market by storm, reverting back to the roots of Mustang's heritage. The small and agile body sported a new rack and pinion steering that made carving twisty roads a breeze. Sales from the previous year nearly tripled and was the highest number Ford had seen since 1967. The Mustang II was such a revolutionary car, it was crowned Motor Trend's Car of the Year for 1974. It's in a league of its own? Yeah, sure. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it's up to us to determine. But was it exactly what Ford needed at the time to save the legendary Mustang? Absolutely. I found this car by simply driving down the road. It was no further than half a mile from me, and this is exactly how I found it. The story goes that this car lived in Tampa Bay, Florida for most of its life until being moved here back in the 90s, and just recently the property it was sitting on had sold, so they had to move the car to this driveway. Unfortunately, like every car sitting this long, the brakes were non-existent. In order to tackle this issue for our short drive, we hooked a long chain to the back of my truck while I piloted the Mustang. The trick here with the 4-speed was to use the clutch pedal to slow me down. I rode with the car in gear, then let out the clutch pedal if I needed to widen the gap between the truck and myself.
The brake pedal doesn't do a thing. It is absolutely frozen solid. And the whole car is shaking because all the tires are flat. But we are going down the road. And the column, well, that's not good. Slowing her down, slowing her down. Oh gosh. Oh no. Got my foot out of the clutch. You can hear the transmission engage. My head's touching the headliner. I'm not built for a Mustang. Neighbors are concerned just as much as I am. I like that. That's a good touch. We made it home. Now the story of this car is a pretty neat one. It lived in Florida for most of its life. To be specific, Tampa Bay, which this tag right here, 95YNF, really does prove that. Tampa Bay's home of rock and roll. So I really like that tag. We might need to put that back on. What we have is, a run-of-the-mill V8 4-speed Cobra. And it's really not run-of-the-mill because back then Cobras could have a V6 or a 4-cylinder, but this thing had a V8. So it's kind of hard to find a Cobra with the V8 these days, but not many people can say that they own a Cobra Mustang. I do. So you've got a lot of really gross stuff in here that I don't know how I'm sitting in this thing right now, but I am. And I don't see anything in the glove box. There's nothing in there. In the center console, there's some bolts. I think it's a door lock. I don't know. There's a spring. I hear something moving. I'm gonna get out now.
You know, it's got the nice hatch back here, and it doesn't latch, so you can just freely open it as you please. There's all of our louvers, and that rear seat should fold down, so we'll have to try that out. We've got the rear spoiler in the back as well, the undergrowth growing up through the spare wheel, so that's really nice. And you know, overall it's a complete car, very solid as you can see. So we like this thing, and it's been sitting since 1994, which was 27 years ago. And if you want to know you had something cool back in the day, you had this. Pop out rear windows. Isn't that nice? I mean, look at that. All that airflow coming in. I love this car. I don't know if you can tell, but this thing is just, it screams 70s, and everything about it is just way over the top cool. I mean, the louvers, the spoiler, all the decals that this thing came with from the factory, it's just so cool. And I've got every bit of it. I've got all the wing and all the ground effects that I have, and it's got all the louvers with it. We just got to put it all back on at some point, but we need to get it running first. This is a supposedly 302, and which this year model really didn't matter. Hello? There we go. Because it still came with a basic 302 2-barrel. Nothing insane about this little car, but it's still a 302 4-speed, and the fact that it weighs absolutely nothing makes this thing a fun little ripper. And we haven't really checked under anything. This is all that's been growing under it. Set whatever that is off to the side. We've got a bolt here. There's a spider already. Excuse me. From what I can tell, this thing looks fairly original. I mean, I don't see a lot of things that have been touched on it. We've got, looks like a factory electronic ignition module box, and I know that these Fords are like the Chryslers. They tend to go bad pretty easily, but that's not a big deal. You can always buy them new. So we'll pop the air cleaner off here. See the condition of our carburetor, and that doesn't look that bad. There's a dirt dauber nest that removed. Thank you, thank you. And our throttle linkage still moves, so that's a good sign. Our choke functions, but we've got a nice Motorcraft 2-barrel, so that's not a fairly uncommon carburetor, thankfully. So we can really make this work, and it looks like somebody had already previously disconnected the fuel line. So I don't know if the pump ever worked, but that doesn't really matter to us because we're not going to use any of that. We just want to make sure that we've got what we need. You know, we've got power steering, we've got power brakes, and that's about it. You know, it's not a really high frills engine, but I think that it's all there. You know, the biggest thing is whether or not it's stuck. Yeah, it's moving. It's more than the Maverick did. That ought to run. Dirt dog nest everywhere. That one's got some live beings in it. And that one, get that out of there. We don't need you. Looks like the rotor still looks okay. It's a little rusty, but I think it'll work. How's the cap look? Cap looks fine. I think that's usable. Check the oil in it real quick too. It's full. Where's the line? Yeah, it's showing full. Kind of smells like gas, but not too bad. Be good enough to start it, and then once we actually get it to run, and you know, maybe break up any kind of debris that could possibly be in the engine. I'm actually going to take and cut the supply side of the fuel, because this side of the pump, on the other side of the pump, is disconnected, but I don't want to be sucking up any trash that's coming out of the tank. So I'm just going to cut that and call it a day. Even if it does work, we'd have to replace this hose. So we'll just take that out of the equation altogether. So I'd like to put a battery in this thing, but there's two problems. One, we've got side post terminals. I didn't know that was a thing for Ford. Probably wasn't. Somebody probably added that on here. It doesn't look like a factory terminal. But number two is that we have a nest in here. I don't know what's living in it, and I'm gonna have to do a little demolition work here to get that out. Remove that.
Feel bad for this tool here. I really like this thing, but I'm using it for the worst possible job. Well, there's what's left of the battery tray. It's not a lot. It's very rusted out, so maybe I should have left the mouse home in it. Is this even the battery tray? It's the only place I see that could possibly hold a battery. Well, I just kind of walked around until I found some top post battery ends, and the right thing to do would probably get some new ones, but I just kept looking around, found this one in the shop, and I found this one on my tractor that I've got, and this one looks a little bit questionable, so we'll use it for the ground. This one's okay. I cleaned it up a little bit, so hopefully its connectivity will be a little bit more improved. All right, battery connectors are restored. Now it's for the moment of truth. Put an actual battery in it. Come on now. This is gonna be a struggle. Okay. Let's chill out. Okay, we've got one that fit. Where'd my battery cable go? Oh, there it is. I hear stuff. Ready? We're in neutral. Clutch in. Nothing. We got a door ajar light that came on. Well, that's not what I was hoping to hear, which was nothing. Our starter solenoid could have gone bad, or something could have happened to it. I mean, we've got power going to it, we know that. So here's the verdict. I think our starter relay is dead. So what this should do is this has 12 volts on it when the key is turned to the crank position, and what it does, it bridges the gap and tells this relay, hey, it's time to send power directly from the battery to the starter. And I'm getting a ground here. I can see a ground with the power probe, and I try to send 12 volts and nothing happens. So I'm thinking that I don't necessarily believe it's our wiring, but I think that the solenoid may be bad. I've seen these things go bad pretty often. Real quick, we'll spray all of our terminals and connectors and bolts with some PB Blast here to make sure we don't break everything. There's the old one removed. Something sounds like it's falling apart on the inside. So that's good. And to replace it is our new starter relay. Now what I want to do though is take a second and clean up where this thing actually bolts, because this thing needs a good ground. So I found this piece of sandpaper literally on the ground from whenever I did the Maverick. I just left it out here on accident. But it still works perfectly. Nice. Consider it installed. Let's just test it, see if anything works. If I cross it over at the power probe, we should see something happen. Oh, yes! 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 Oh, we've got a runner today! That was great. Starter worked, didn't hang. Alright, I'm going to put the ignition wire that goes from the key, and I'm going to put that back on. And now, I'm going to go back into the car and see if I can start it with the key this time. Turning key now. Yes! Yes, yes. Okay, we're making progress. Typically what I would do is check for spark at this point, but my battery is running low and we're running out of daylight. So I'm just going to pour just a tiny little bit of gas down the carburetor and just see if I can make it light off. And if it does, then we'll rig up our fuel pump. A little bit of finesse. Plenty. Plenty, plenty. Okay. Put this far, far away. Turning the key. Nope. Couldn't get that lucky, so I guess we do really need to check for spark. Heck. Well, should have just done that in the first place, but whatever. Well, instead of doing the sensible thing, I went and got some starting fluid. Need a little something with a little bit more bite to it. Spray a little bit in here, see if that'll fire off at least anything. This video is brought to you by a no spark moment. Welcome back to day 2. And what we figured out last night was a weak battery isn't fun. So the biggest issue that I noticed last night was that I was having a voltage drop at the positive side of the coil. Now what's supposed to happen is, you know this wire over here that we had to check to make sure it was getting power on the starter solenoid? I checked on a wiring diagram, and this wire actually goes into our DuraSpark ignition module. And what that wire is supposed to do is actually powers the coil. So it's supposed to send 12 volts in the start position, so that way it helps in getting the car to start. You know, even if the battery was low, it's getting a direct 12 volts to help start, you know, get fire to the spark plugs and whatnot. And then whenever it's running, it sends like 9 or 10 volts just to keep the coil from burning itself up over time. And what I noticed was I was not getting a direct 12 volts to the coil. And even whenever I set a jumper wire over here to the hot side of the coil, the battery was just so weak that it couldn't work. So I charged our battery last night, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it gets a lot better. The next course of action here is probably to replace this DuraSpark ignition module. I don't really trust it, and if we're not getting 12 volts in the start position of the coil, then it's more than likely a bad ignition module. So I went and bought this one. This is like $25 from O'Reilly, and we're going to see if this will actually fix the whole situation. But first, we're going to take this one out. All the tabs were broken on these clips, so I'm wondering if somebody has already tried to remove this before and had issues with it. I don't know. Okay, everything should be good now. Now we're going to see if we can make this thing actually run for the first time in, well, 27 years. So I was a bit suspect of our coil. I have verified we are getting power, 12 volts in the run position and the start position, but it's not firing because I took a spark plug wire, ran it over here to a spark plug on a known ground. I know for a fact this is grounded because I checked it and rechecked it before I even tried it, and it's not sparking at all. So that spark plug is not doing a thing, so I suspect that we've got a bad coil. Now I stole one off of a running vehicle to see if this works, so let's keep our fingers crossed that it does. Well, unfortunately that didn't fix our problem. And as I was looking and trying to figure out what was going on, I noticed that the distributor has a bunch of really chewed up wires on it. And we verified that our coil's getting power, and I've checked it on a spark plug, so I'm just wondering, is the distributor bad? And the thing is that, you know, it could be the pickup, it could be something inside the distributor, but if we got chewed up wires like that, even if it did end up working, this is just going to fall apart. I mean, it's literally just 2 or 3 wires just holding on to the thing. So I figured I'll just pull the whole distributor out and try to replace it, because I could patch on that wire and it could just get bad. Little tip here before pulling the distributor to make sure that our timing is going to be the same. I put the rotor and pointed it directly to the firewall, so that way whenever I have to drop it back in, I know exactly where this thing needs to point. Distributor removed. Now this is the old distributor out of the Mustang. It's pretty worn, but it's still functioning at least, or it was. Now I noticed that whenever I was trying to diagnose my spark issue, that I saw these 3 wires, well, what was 3 wires, that are non-existent. You'll see that this one right here is totally disconnected from the other side. So whatever was going on there, this distributor probably wasn't getting enough power, or any power at all. And on top of that, the pickups are known to go bad. They're pretty common to go bad, and I'd have to take the distributor apart. So I figured by the time I bought one of those, bought a new cap, bought a new rotor, I'd be pretty close to just having the same money for a new distributor. So that's exactly what I did. I hate to kind of do stuff like that. I'd rather rebuild what I have, but it was like $30 or $40 more to just buy a whole new distributor. So I didn't see why it would be a bad idea. So that's exactly what I got here. Got a brand new DuraSpark Ford distributor, and you want to see how well this thing works. I mean, like I said, with new cap, rotor, everything inside. This is not a reman either. This is brand new. So I'm hoping that that will fix all of the issues that we're having. And that looks pretty good. I like it. Got that fancy looking black cap. You know, that's pretty sporty. And then the warranty is void if I remove it. So, anyway, let's throw this sucker on and see if anything else can happen when we try to get sparked this time. Well, I got tired of dealing with weak batteries, so I borrowed the Optima out of my Challenger. This sucker's brand new, and it's got 1,000 cranking amps. So if this thing doesn't turn it over, I don't know what will. Now, a little trick that I found out is that an A&W root beer bottle is the exact size of the distributor hole. So that kept any kind of trash getting in there. So the biggest trick is to make sure that we have the rotor button pointing exactly where this thing was before. Now, it's not like a Chrysler where you can just drop it in and you're good to go. It doesn't have like a flat edge on the bottom of it with the cam gear. This one, we have to like basically rotate it a little bit ahead so that when it drops in, the taper of these cam gears will cause the rotor button to rotate this way. So it might take a couple tries. We're going to drop this in here and see if we can get it to line up first try. Probably not, but see if we can get lucky. Sucks kind of being so dang tall and having to work on a car so short. But at least I don't have to stand up straight. It's pretty nice. While I was there, I picked up this new coil when I got the distributor, because the DuraSpark has this interesting little connector that goes on the coil, and it's not like a typical one where it's got 2 little threads on it and you just get like little connectors on the end of it. But this one, you just slide the coil on it. Now that, my friends, is what we call spark. So I'm going to take this spark plug wire, stick it back on its appropriate plug, take a little bit of this starting fluid here. Now see if anything happens. Let's go! Okay, we've got, alright. We have a runner. The coil's hot. Did I turn the key off? I didn't. Wow. That thing fired up. This is the first time this thing has ran in 27 years. Like, literally. I'm speechless right now. Yes. I cannot believe it. Give it a little extra this time. That starter is toast. Mm-mm. Yes! Alright, fuel system, let's go. Here's what we got. This is my nice fancy 5-gallon jug here. We're going to rig it up to an electric fuel pump right here. And all you got to do is run it to power to the battery and should fill up our bowls. I have a feeling though that this thing's going to leak like crazy, but as long as we can at least maintain enough fuel pressure and have an accelerator pump, we should be able to make it run. Get this old fuel line off here. This looks like air hose. I'm not even joking, so I don't even know if this is any count. But, see if that'll come off. It is absolutely petrified. I think it actually just broke. That's how bad it is. Yeah, look at that. These little picks are good if you have a little bit of life left in the hose, but this one is not coming off. There we go. Yeah, see, look, we've already got a leak right here at our filter, so that'll definitely have to be replaced. It's idling. We're leaking fuel like crazy though. Our timing may be a little low. Not a good idea. Look at that. How does it sound out back? All factory exhaust. Listen to that. Well, let's run it out of gas real quick and we'll see if we can change that filter. Can't be having a leak that bad. Look at that though. And it's quiet too. I cannot believe this car's idling that long. How is it even possible? I don't understand how this thing can run that well after sitting for so long. I cleared it up a little bit though. Clothes might have been loaded up some. There's coolant. What is that? Where's that coming from? Did it get hot? Surely not. I mean, it didn't run that long. Where did that coolant? Let's see. There's a split in the hose. Oh, the overflow hose came off. That's why. Did coolant get up to here? Yeah, we've got coolant in this thing. It looks nasty, but it's there. Huh. God, man, I got showered. So, I think we need to replace that fuel filter, or at least get some kind of gasket for it. We have an accelerator pump. We have something that actually runs. I mean, this thing started to smooth out as time went on. I cannot believe this thing ran as good as it did. Wow. Okay, this might be my new favorite. I'm that close, that close. I was searching through the toolbox and I actually was able to come up with this fitting right here. This is for like a regular barb end over a hose, and it's got the right type threads. But I'm going to take a little bit of thread tape and make sure that it does not leak this time. And then whenever the time comes and I get my filter in, I'll swap this back over, but just to be safe, because we don't want to run it off the factory tank at all. Let's give our new fuel fitting a try real quick. Looks good to me. This starter's making me nervous. The door ajar buzzer works. Please work, come on. Just catch, that's all you gotta do. Nah, too much timing. Back it off just a touch. Give it a couple pats of the gas. Try it again. Come on. Oh, please. Does the tack work? Doesn't seem to be working. I wonder if the radio works. No. Couldn't get that lucky. Wonder if we have any lights though. Nothing out back. Listen how smooth this thing's idle now. Oh wait, we do have a light. Look, there's one. Just barely flickering, but it's on. And we've got lights over here too. I didn't even see it. Probably need to replace the bulbs. Let's check up front. Hey, look at that. We've got headlights too. Wow. Turn signals maybe? Could we get that lucky? No. I think this thing has cruise control though, does it? Or no, that's just the wipers. I don't want to touch that because I'm afraid it'll blow up. Anything with a fan? No. Listen to the draw the lights were causing. The alternator might be a little bit weak. It's idling very smooth now. I think we probably had some plugs that obviously should be replaced, and as time goes on it'll pick up some more and clean up those plugs better. So we do need to replace those at some point and really verify what our timing is. But I don't really think this thing's going to come around. I'm most surprised that this thing isn't smoking right now. I've let it idle for probably like 5 or so minutes, and I just want to hear what the exhaust sounds like. We're just going to give a little tap of the gas, see what she does. I didn't do that. Throttle's a little sticky. Not bad for sitting that long. A little choo-choo out the back, not bad. I like it. Well, I was wondering why this thing was running rough, because I knocked the spark plug loose whenever I was cleaning all that out. See it? The plug wire is just laying on the ground. Let's add that back and see if it idles out smoother. Well, that's 1,000 times better. Also noticed that the thermostat is kicked on. It's open. So we've at least got up to operating temperature, full of coolant. I didn't even have to add coolant to it. I didn't know that it needed any. I was very impressed. I mean, it's kind of nasty looking in there, but it's working for the time being until we need to change it. I just can't believe this thing's running right now. Idle must sound a lot better. I didn't even have to touch the carburetor, guys. I didn't do anything to this thing. I really wonder why it was parked. Not bad. Now the good news is I know that these tires will hold air long enough to roll. How long they'll hold air, I don't know. I really do like these wheels. I don't know if they're factory. They don't look like the factory one that's in the back of the car, but kind of nice. The only problem with them is that they're 13s. But the good news is they hold the car up. Ooh, big pop. What our goal is now is once these tires are aired up, I'm going to see if the clutch will work. I don't know if it will. The brakes are shot. It doesn't have a pedal at all. I mean, you push it and it doesn't even move, so it's frozen stuck. But I'm hoping that we can drive this thing up to the shop and maybe kind of diagnose some of the problems that we're having. And once we get this thing up to the shop, I would like to maybe try to figure out some of the lighting issues and probably have to replace the starter. I'm not looking forward to it, but it has to be done. And if you guys know of anybody who has a nice set of 4-lug wheels, let me know. Really preferably like some slot mags. Or we could convert it to 5-lug. Who knows? Watch this tire be the one that doesn't hold air. I really don't remember. It's been sitting here for a few weeks. So far, so good. You see it coming out of the ground there. Stuff growing under it. I think the shifter is so worn out that it doesn't want to go all the way over to reverse. So I'm going to try and just pull this thing out of here, get it straightened out, and then we can put it in gear. So we're back out here in the open, Now that we know that we have forward gears, we can at least try to move this thing. Let's give it a shot. We did it. That's good. That's really good. Come on, come check this out. We moved a solid 30, 40 feet. The gas jug didn't fall over. We're still running. I count that as a complete win. Get a little more smoky as that oil heats up. Probably needs to be changed. That's for sure. But hey, it could be valve seals. For all I know, it could be just a old engine. But hey, look at that. Still running after all these years. And now that we can say that we made it up to the shop, I think it's about time we clean this old girl up. Got a lot of just junk laying in everything in the engine bay, just a bunch of rat's nests. You can see in the laying in the intake there, just covered in trash. And then we'll take and maybe clean up some of the insides. You can see we got a lot of trash in the floor, just things that don't really belong in here, just to make it a little bit more comfortable, really, as much as we can make it, because it's kind of nasty. Well, the good news is it met expectations. The floor is completely gone where the spare tire sits, but thankfully around the edges, besides that one spot right there, it's all solid. So all this is still good usable metal, and whatever we end up trying to do, we can at least go just cut that out and then replace it. So I think that we can make something work. I don't know if patch panels even exist for this car, but I'm starting to think that a 55-gallon drum is about the same size as that spare tire well. So if all else fails, I'll just cut one up and set it right in there and weld it in. But I think we'll be okay. But for right now, I mean, I've seen way worse. This is definitely not the worst that we've dealt with. I mean, if you look at the Challenger,
it was 1,000 times worse. I mean, even the frame rail was gone on it. So we can handle it. We can definitely make something happen. But I wonder if this seat will fold over now. Ah, look at that. I don't know what that's supposed to do. I think it's hinged, but it's so rusty. Look, it won't even move. So I think that's supposed to lay flat, but it can't. Well, considering what it was, we've made quite the improvement. Actually see the floors now, and this is not the final iteration of cleaning, nor should it be the final iteration of cleaning. This is just so I can sit in the car without feeling grossed out, at least to the level that I was. All the stuff that I took out that I felt like I should keep stuck in the back, and just so happens that putting the spare tire in there makes me forget about the rust hole, so it works out. Then up in the front, on the passenger side, same story. Looks pretty good. The good news is I felt around on the floorboards. Nothing felt soft up here. So we will just pretend that everything's okay. But I'd say it's good. Definitely a lot better than where we came from. And now that we have a little bit more of an idea of what we're working with, I say we can move ahead and get some more work done. Now it's time to rebuild the brake system completely. We know that we can move under our own power, but we cannot stop under our own power. And if you want to see that video, go ahead and drop a like on this one. I have complete faith you guys can get this to 15,000 likes, and that shows me that you're just as excited to see that video as I am to make it. Now on top of that, we've got some really cool stuff here that I want to do a giveaway on, because we have a brand new shirt that's come out. It's in the link below or in the top right now. I've got the original Coil that came off this car. I signed it. I've got the original ignition module, signed it as well, and probably coolest of all, I've got the original Distributor that came off this car, and I signed the cap. Now if you want to win one of these 3 items, all you got to do is go down to that link and buy one of these new McCool Auto t-shirts. I'm pretty excited about them, and I hope you guys are too, because every t-shirt you buy gets you 1 entry to win one of these 3 items. This is probably some high value, high dollar Ford authentic junkyard parts, and I'm probably going to lose money in the whole altercation, so you know, my loss is your gain. But if you want to win one of these 3, every shirt you buy gets you 1 entry. Buy as many shirts as you want, gets you as many entries as you want. So make sure that you're subscribed and have your notifications on, because I'm going to announce the winner in the next few videos, and I don't want you to miss out on that. Because if I don't hear a response from you soon enough, then I'll have to go on to the next person, and I'd hate for you to miss out on some of this gold that I'm holding in my hands. So like I said, link below, go buy a t-shirt. I'm excited for it, and I hope you guys are too. And on top of that, this car needs a name. So whoever has the most like comment down in the comment section below to name this car, that's what we'll name it. That's all I got. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next one.